Radhe.
Over to you, Amritavani ji.
Thank you, Padmini ji. Thank you, Gayatri ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe, everyone. Welcome to our daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. We will be starting now. Happy Pongal Sankranti to everyone those are celebrating. Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Amritavani ji. Thank you Padmini ji and Gayatri ji for a wonderful session. Happy Sankranti, Pongal and happy Lohri to all of you. Hope you had a great celebration. I think it was last night back there in India. Welcome Radhe Radhe to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Am I audible today?
Yes, we can hear you.
Have I been having some trouble with my audio of late? Because I've gotten that feedback from some of the participants. So in case some of you are wondering why I've become a pilot today, it's because I didn't want to take a chance. I thought I'll have some headphones until I get my other speaker. But I hope the audio is very clear today. And did we have did all the participants were having, I mean, they were able to hear me yesterday, or it was some who were having a trouble in, not being able to hear me? I got some feedback that was not audible or it was breaking in between. Can anybody, you can just raise your hand that if all of you were facing some problem yesterday, because I would like to know if it's audio on my side or your side or both or none. Okay, I can see a couple of hands. So maybe something going on with the audio, but for majority it doesn't look like it was okay. All right, anyways, I'm not taking a chance, so I'm wearing this. Hopefully it works fine. And if at any point you think audio is not up to the mark, please let me know.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll get started. I'm going to share my screen. We are discussing a very, very, very deep, profound topic around Guru. And we will go a little deeper into that discussion today. You will really have to fasten your seatbelts because I'll go into some deep philosophical concepts today. And then we'll have discussion about some of the concepts related to Guru, right? The Guru mantra and all those things, what is its significance, and the parampara or the sampradaya, which is big, actually a big one, especially in India, lineage, Shivites, Vaishnavites. So we'll get into all those concepts. So let me share my screen and get started for today. So we'll get started with our opening prayers. Yes, sorry about that. Just going to do a full screen and then share now. All right, we'll get started with our opening prayers then. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, welcome again, everyone. Happy Pongal, happy Sankranti, happy Lohri to all of you. Let's get started. We're on chapter 4, verse 34. That we have taken a bit of a detour. It's Jagat Gurutam Divas tomorrow, and I thought it's an opportunity, an opportune moment for us to delve into some of the deeper concepts about Guru. So we will do a quick recap from yesterday after the shloka, and then we'll get into some newer topics today related to Guru. I'm going to recite it, and then you're welcome to follow. Especially if you didn't get a chance yesterday, raise your hand twice, okay? I'm just kidding. I'm sure Amritavani will figure it out. So we'll get started. Tadvidhi pranipatena परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनः तत्त्वदर्शिनः. All right. Do we have anybody who didn't get a chance yesterday and wants to recite it? I can see one hand. So
Ashutosh Ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe Ashutosh.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
तद्विधि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनः तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Very nice. Radhe Radhe Ashutosh.
राधे राधे.
Anya Ji, please go ahead.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
तत्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Very nice. Radhe Radhe. Thank you very much.
Aarti Ji, please go ahead.
Radhe
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe Aarti ji.
तत्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Thank you very much. Very nice, Aarti ji. All right, we can take a few more hands and then we'll get started.
Sam Ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Sam ji.
राधे राधे
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
तद्विधिं प्रतिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेशयन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानस्नास्तत्त्वदर्शिनः. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Sam ji. Okay, we can quickly cover the remaining hands. I think Sumesh ji didn't get a chance yesterday.
Okay. Sumesh Ji, please go ahead.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Wonderful.
Radhe
Thank you very much. We'll take 3 more and then we'll get started. We have
Okay.
good amount of content to cover today. Yes, go ahead, please.
Nitin Ji, after them, I will also do. I would love this verse.
Okay, sure. Please go ahead. We'll take 4 more then.
Rupa Ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe, Rupa ji.
तद्विधि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः.
Very nice, Rupa ji. Radhe Radhe. 3 more. Countdown starts.
Ragi Ji.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe, Pragi ji.
तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिना तत्त्वदर्शिना.
Very nice. Thank you. 2 more.
Lakshmi Prasanna Ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe, Lakshmi.
Tatvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshayanti te jnanam jnaninastattvadarshinah.
Very nice. Okay, Amritavani ji, you are the last one to do the honors, and if you couldn't get a chance, rest you can do it the next time, please.
Thank you. Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastattvadarshinah. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much. I'm so emotional. I love this verse a lot. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. That was icing on the cake. Thank you so much, Amritavani ji. Okay, so let's get started. Learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him with reverence, and render service unto him. Such an enlightened sage can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So we'll do a quick recap of the topics that we discussed yesterday about the Guru, and then we'll get to the newer ones. Let's get started. We tackled these questions yesterday. Why do we need a Guru? Who is a true Guru? How do we find a Guru? And the Guru Mantra is something we'll tackle today. So we looked at from Sri Bhagavatam reference, the significance of Guru, what scriptures are telling us, what the Upanishads are telling us, the meaning of Guru, one who helps us dispel the darkness. What Ramayana is telling us that, not even the most elevated of souls, spiritual aspirants cannot cross over. Forget about the mundane people, even the most elevated, they would need a Guru eventually to actually cross over this ocean of Maya. And then the qualifications of Guru, we refer to Mundaka Upanishad, which states very clearly that Shrotriyam cha Brahmanishtam, right? The one who is theoretically well versed and who has seen the truth. If somebody is purely theoretically well versed, they will not be able to dispel our doubts with the impact that a practically realized person can have, right? Kabir Das, when he was there used to be a big scholar around his times as well. So that guy asked him, why is it that people approach you and not me? And why is it that listening to your words, there's a transformation that people are able to bring about in themselves and not to me? Then Kabir responded back to him saying, तुम जो कहो किताब, तुम कहते हो किताब की लेखी, मैं कहता हूँ आंखों की देखी. So आंखों की देखी, the realized knowledge, that conviction, that impact is much higher. As you would know, when you have realized something, the power of conviction that comes in your words when you are telling something to somebody is at a different level as opposed to when something is understood only theoretically. And the same principle applies in spirituality as well, where the Guru needs to have both the qualification, theoretically well versed as well as practically realized. Mundaka Upanishad says that. And why we spoke about the Panchakleshas, starting with ignorance and all the ones that follow because of the fact that we consider ourselves as this body, and this it has a compounding effect. Ignorance is the first effect that is introduced, and then it continues to have a compounding effect in rest of the things or the manifestations of that ignorance around us, which includes rag, dvesh, and then the abhivinesh, that our existence will cease to exist. So all these are born out of ignorance, and the Guru's role is important because he's actually helps us dispel that ignorance. Another common denominator was that it says that you need to serve Guru. First of all, you need to approach your spiritual master with a submissive spirit, not a skeptical mind that no. You have to go with a submissive spirit and then render service unto him. And that helps us cleanse and elevate and purify ourselves. And we also spoke about the concept that we think we are actually, I think there is some audio coming in between. You may want to mute yourself. And if we render service to Guru, truly Guru is serving us. Okay, Guru is actually serving us secretly. Is actually not only dispelling the ignorance, but also removing the impediments on our spiritual journey, confronting our secret stash, and taking us from where we are to the next step that is needed for us to progress spiritually. Then we spoke about the concept of indicators of a true Guru. We said their words are very impactful. They'll go deep into your heart when you listen, and they will easily resolve doubts and dispel our confusions. They will not give you material allurements or limit to chamatkars kind of a deal, right? Because when we get impressed with somebody who can perform miracles, if you truly think about it, we are actually saying namaskar to the chamatkar, right? So God doesn't have to impress us. Okay, so even the same thing with Guru. The point is they will not take us deeper into the material world, because Guru's primary job is to dispel that ignorance and take you toward God. And another important symptom was when we come in association with a saintly person, it's like a fireball. When we approach a fire, we feel the heat. Similarly, when we approach a saintly person, you will realize that there is some transformation that has started happening with you, especially when you approach them with faith. And your attraction towards God, the feelings and the emotions that will come that otherwise you would have not felt will start flowing, and you'll start feeling that sense of detachment from the world. That overly attachment that we feel, it starts getting set in perspective. And most importantly, we said because God is seated within, that indication will come from within. God understands this is a sincere seeker. He is looking for a Guru, and let me arrange for it so that he meets the master and continue on in this journey. So that indication, that reassurance, that reinforcement will come from within, that yes, I have finally met somebody that I was always looking for. That is also an indicator. So let's go today. And we spoke about this concept as well. We had a discussion on it. When the student is ready, master will appear. I think we can continue on this discussion. I posted it on our forum as well. Now let's quickly talk about the genesis of sampradayas. So we'll start with Gautam Buddha, who came 400 to 500 before Christ. We'll look at a chronology of events leading to all the gurus that have descended from time to time. And let's look at a chronology of those events. So first, Buddha came. He was not a Jagat Guru, but then Buddhism came in when Vedas were, not utilized properly, and then Buddha came and he said, okay, forget about the Vedas. Let's just focus on our consciousness, right, on self, and that is the path he propagated. However, the first original Jagat Guru was Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, who came 2500 years ago after Buddha came, and he re-established Vedas. Vedas being Vedas were are the eternal manuals for life. So in Buddha's time, because they were being misused, he wiped the slate clean. And then obviously when things improved, Jagat Guru Shankaracharya descended. It's all strategic from God's standpoint. If, as you would see, these masters, these acharyas, they come in an order where the message, where it is left off, the next layer is introduced, and then the next and the next. So Jagat Guru Shankaracharya came about 2500 years ago, 500 BC, and he propagated Advaitwad, Aham Brahmosmi, right? That concept that you only, you are that. That was non-dualism or monoism. We'll get into that Sampradaya aspect as well a little more. After that came
If you can go to the previous slide, there is a request that they want to go to the previous.
Sure. What are you liking here, the graph or the
No,
master?
it was asked by
Okay.
a participant had asked, so.
Sure. Is it good enough, or?
I think yes. Yeah.
Okay, we discussed it yesterday. If we get time, we can go again. So then after Shankaracharya came Jagat Guru Ramanujacharya about 1000 years ago, and then he propagated Vishisht Advaitwad, or qualified monism and qualified non-dualism. Okay, so and then came Jagat Guru Nimbarkacharya in 11th century, who propagated Dvait Advaitwad, or dualistic non-dualism, monodualism. Then came Jagat Guru Madhvacharya about 700 years ago, who said Dvaitwad, or philosophy of dualism. Okay, it's just like everybody is trying to explain that elephant from a specific perspective, right? Somebody's explaining one leg, the other one, another leg, somebody's tail, because the teacher will not tell the level that they know. They will tell the level that students are ready for, and they were building on the previous philosophy and adding another layer on top of it. Now, because of it, what happened was there was a lot of Sampradaya Pratha that started, right? So for example, Jagat Guru Shankaracharya established certain mutts. So he was Jagat Guru. Jagat Guru is like, it's a post of Pope in Christianity, you can call it right now, right? So it is only one. I mean, they are like original Jagat Gurus were these four, and then I'll talk about Kripalaji Maharaj as well. But then when they established mutts, they put their disciples on those seats, and then they went on to declare themselves as a Jagat Guru, and the people who succeeded them, they started. So there are so many Jagat Gurus, but if you look at original Jagat Gurus, there are only 4 plus 1, that is Kripalaji Maharaj, who came in 1957. And he was not only accorded the stature of a Jagat Guru, but Jagat Guru Tam, because he actually reconciled all the philosophies, right? So for example, what Shankaracharya ji said, or Ramanujacharya, Nimbarkacharya, Madhvacharya, if you look at those lineages, they said only this message is right. Dualism is fine. Vishisht Advait is fine, or Dvait is fine, or all those philosophy, that is the only truth. However, Kripalaji Maharaj reconciled all the philosophies and said not only that was right, but this is also right. Okay, so he's also called Bhakti Yoga Rasavatar, or the personification of the bliss of God. Yes, Shashiji, I see your hand raised. You had a question?
Hanji, I just wanted to share that today is a Jagat Guru Uttam Divas. It's a 65th Jagat
65th.
Guru Uttam Divas.
Right, that's right. That's why we have picked this topic, Shashiji. There's a
Okay,
reason.
because I joined it a little late. Sorry about that. I was
No
too
worries.
excited. Seeing
That's
Maharaj.
that's why we picked up this topic. So yeah, so he was accorded it by Kashi Vidyapeeth. So how it happened was there were 500 scholars. So think of it like one scholar is an expert in a particular branch of spirituality, right? Scripture. So somebody an expert is in an Upanishad, somebody in a Puran, and within Upanishads also for a very, very specific. So they had devoted their entire life to that particular thing, right? So those 500 scholars, they were pitted against, Kripaluji Maharaj. And Kripaluji Maharaj, he started off, he said first, he spoke that the scriptures are useless. That's how he started. And then people were astonished, said, how can he say such a big thing? Scriptures are like, they were returned something which is manual, which was revealed as soon as the creation came being. And how can he just trash it like that? He said, I can prove that. And he said, this scripture says this says this, this says this says this. They're all contradicting. So and he was actually able to defeat them in a debate, proving that, yes, it doesn't make sense. Every scripture is contradicting each other. Khandan. He did the Khandan basically of scriptures. So everybody agreed, yes, you are right. And then he said, no, by the way, all the scriptures are right. Then he started doing Mandan. And he actually reconciled and proved that and then everybody conferred him the topic of Samanvaya Acharya Nikhila Darshan, and then that long title that was given to him because his clarity, his wisdom, everybody said, okay, now you have reconciled everything, and that's something nobody any of the Jagat Gurus before that had not done, because it was not needed. Not that they didn't know that, but they focused on only one aspect of God, and that ended up becoming Sampradayas as well. So anyway, that was a quick story around that. Now let's move on. We'll look at some of the concepts of the powers of Krishna. Okay, it's a very deep concept. So fasten your seatbelts around it, but we'll go through it. Just to touch upon this topic. So Krishna's powers, we know Swarupa Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. There is a question. Why Buddha is not considered an original Jagat Guru?
He's not Jagat Guru because I think he limited his prachar or to a certain extent and to a particular segment alone, and without touching the scriptures at all. Okay, he said wipe that slate clean. So he's kind of a outsider, you can say, even though in 24 avatars, if you go there, Siddhartha is considered one of the avatars of Vishnu himself, but he was not conferred that title because I think the scope of his spiritual dissemination that he did was pretty limited at that time. Although I would say Buddha is the biggest Dain or what do you call that gift of Buddhism to this world is that it gives something even to the atheists to work with, right? If somebody is an atheist, they don't want to believe in God, they don't want to believe in scriptures, they also have something to work with. That is what Buddha gave, right? However, if you look at it, after came Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, who actually built upon where Buddha left and started off with the monoism or the non-dualism. And then obviously the other aspects of God were revealed by the subsequent gurus. And we'll see some of these gurus who were there. And then finally came Kripaluji Maharaj, who was able to reconcile all the philosophies and said, everybody was right. It's not that only one was right or the other was right. Everybody was right. And this is how it was. And he actually explained that our scriptures explain Bheda Bhed Sambandh with God, right? Bheda Bhed Sambandh means there is similarity and at the same time there is a difference, right? So if we say only difference, that is also a problem, and if we say only similarity, then also, right? So if you look at deeper into some of these philosophies, some will say God is only with a form, some will say no, God is only formless. So he said it replace only with not only but also, and he actually explained that very nicely. All right, so let's continue. These are the three powers of Krishna: Swarupa Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti, right? Those of you who have been attending these sessions, we have gone through that. Jiva Shakti is us. Maya Shakti is insentient Jada Shakti that we see around us. Swarupa Shakti is Atrangi Shakti, which is the Yoga Maya or the Parashakti of God. Now, Jiva Shakti is also called Vibhinansh. It is governed by, sorry, Jiva Shakti, yeah, it's called Vibhinansh. Vibhinansh, if you split this word, Vibhinansh, that means little different. And it is governed by Swarupa Shakti of God. And then there is called Swansh of God as well, which is cut from the, Swansh means the same Ansh of God, which is Narayan, Ram, Shiv, etc. Okay, they are all the powers of the same God. Now, if you go read some Puran, Vishnu Puran, they'll say Vishnu is the ultimate thing. You go to read Shiv Puran, they'll say Shiv is the ultimate. All are right, actually. But if you go to Bhagavatam, it actually puts the things into perspective because it defines the true hierarchy of God, where Krishna in Golok Vrindavan is actually God. Like in Bhagavad Gita, it says, I am God. This is my Vishwa Swarup. And it explains that from Pratham Purush, his plenary expansions, nobody's higher or lower. He expands. God has an ability to expand. We don't have that ability. God has an ability to expand as Vishnu. Even sometimes he becomes Brahma as well when there is no, eligible Jivatma to become a Brahma. And then Shankar as well. And through that, through Vishnu, then he can take an avatar like Ram, Krishna as well, right? So the actual Krishna, the Purana avatar happens, I think, once in Chaturyug. I may be getting my facts wrong, but the actual Krishna who lives in Golok Vrindavan, whose only job is to do Premdan, takes a Purana avatar, I think once in the Chaturyug or in one day of Vishnu. I'll have to check that. But other than that, he takes an avatar as a form of Vishnu. Through like Vishnu, like Ram avatar, Ram is called an avatar of Vishnu as well. Krishna is also called an avatar of Vishnu. So that Purana avatar happens once in a, in that cyclical chain that we have. But anyway, point being, the Swanshar, Narayan, Ram, Shiv, etc. Now, within Swarupa Shakti, there is a category called Nitya Siddh. Nitya Siddh means they are always God realized. They were never having their back towards God. Okay. And Nitya Siddh is the type 1 category. The other type is Sadhan Siddh. Within Jiva Shakti, they are called a Nitya Badh. There is one category called Nitya Siddh, the other one is Nitya Badh, which are always under the influence of Maya, like us. And within that, there are people who are called Sadhan Siddh. I'll get into that a little later. Now, within Nitya Siddh, people who are always God realized because they are like from his Swarupa Shakti. Those examples are Shankaracharya, who are avatar of Shankar, Shivji, Nimbarkacharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, avatar of Hanumanji, Sudarshan, Chakra, Sheshnag, Balram. They are all avatars of God. Hit Harivanshji, who's considered as an avatar of Krishna's flute. You see, Krishna, he plays his flute. Even the ornaments are divine. They are sentient and they are not ordinary ornaments that God wears. They are saints and sages who have acquired that stature just to become ornaments of God through their tapasya, and that's how they are. And there are a lot of saints who have descended who are actually, like if you look at Hit Harivansh, he is known as avatar of Krishna's flute or Vishnu. Shiv, Matsya, Vaman, Buddha, right? They are all called Nitya Siddh avatars. Then you have Sadhan. And then other saints in Nitya Siddh category are Ashtamahasakis, the personal aids of Radharani, Lalita, Vishakha. Jeev Goswami is considered one of the avatars of one of the Ashtasakis, by the way. So this is the Nitya Siddh avatars that can take place. Now the key concept to understand is they are under the sway of Yogamaya. They are not the controllers of Yogamaya. There's a difference between a controller of a Yogamaya and somebody under the sway of Yogamaya or the Parashakti or the Swarupa Shakti of God. Then the other one are Sadhan Siddh. Sadhan Siddh are people like us who have perfected their devotion and attained God. We are Nityabadh. We have always been under the spell of Maya. However, when we do our Sadhan Bhakti and it is supplemented by the grace of God, we become Swarupa Shakti Yukt. We are still not the controllers of Swarupa Shakti. We become Swarupa Shakti Yukt. That means we become God-like at that point. Those are called Sadhan Siddh. There are so many souls, infinite souls, I think, who have realized God. Nanak, Tukaram, Kabir Das, Meera. So sadhan siddh is people like us who have attained God and they have become Swarup Shakti Yukt. And then the second category under Jeev Shakti is work in progress, not VIPs, WIPs, which is us until we become sadhan siddh. Okay. Now there is the most rare category that is called Ansh of Shri Krishna, which is also called Avatari. The word used is Avatari. They are very rare. However, they do take avatar. Examples are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are called Hari Avatari, directly the avatars of God. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was soul of Krishna in the body of Radha, believe, just to experience the pain that Radha feels. Okay, so God does leelas and takes avatars just to experience himself. Deeper concepts, but that is how it is. So, point there being, Lord Krishna himself can decide to take on an avatar as a guru, and those are very rare. It happens, very rare. So these are type 2 avatars. Now, the key concept here to understand is that internally saints and God, they are all one after God realization. And saint is not going to reveal the full extent of that divine power. They come for a specific purpose and they will reveal, including the message that they reveal to the, it's a function of the place, time, people, audience, and what is needed during that time. So their job is not to come here and impress people by doing things. Their job is to take people towards that path and help them in this purification process and at least get them started on that path, even if they don't complete their energy. And if by great fortune and by great grace of God, we are able to come in contact with that saint and accept them as a guru from heart, and we'll see, is there anything more needed? Then that association is a permanent association, which will continue for as long as we are WIP, work in progress, because Guru does not leave your hand once you have accepted them. Their job is to take you across to the other end until you have completed your journey. The other aspect of saints is that the sadhan siddh souls, right? Now, even the sadhan siddh souls, people like us who have actually perfected their devotion and have become Swarupa Shakti Yukt, that means they have become godlike. That means they could come down as saints as well from time to time. Now, there could be a lot of people around us, especially if you go to Himalayas, and I've heard, right, in India, there could be people out there and they just enjoy their divine status, whatever duration they have come up with for whatever purpose in this mic body, and then they go back to their divine abode. Okay, for what purpose they come, they've taken on a prarabdha to help people or otherwise, I can't comment on that. But the point here is you will not be able to make it out, whether this person is sadhan siddh, nitya siddh, or whatever. We don't have that ability to figure that out. So they come but they are not obliged to continue in this mic world. And then after they complete their tenure or prarabdha, then they go back to the divine abode. And nitya siddh category that I spoke about, right? Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Hit Harivansh, they come with an express purpose of influencing the divine soul on the path to divine realization. So like I said, once you are God realized, Maya loses its grip over you. Maya is no longer there. You become godlike. And at that point, you all have all the choices. You can continue to, enjoy the bliss of God in his divine abode, or you could continue, or you could choose to come with God in his pastimes, or you could choose to come as a saint to help souls. You could choose any of those things, right? Nothing is obligatory on you at that point. So a lot of nitya siddha souls, they come with an express purpose of helping the souls here, right? It's like, okay, let me help the other people, and they consider themselves as a servant of God, and they want to be profitable servant of God even after God realization. So they said, okay, let me do seva and do for the God as to the best of my abilities, and inspire other souls on this path as well, so that they can break this cycle of Maya and get over the panchaklesh that are tormenting them for so many, infinite lifetimes. Okay, so with that, let's move into another concept. Does Guru need to have a Guru? Okay, this is a very common question asked. It's like, okay, you have a Guru, but you need to have a Guru because it has to have a chain. If you don't have a chain is broken, then there is a problem. Not really. Let's look at why. Now, eternally liberated guru, right? If you look at the previous chart that I showed you, Nitya Siddh, somebody who's Nitya Siddh, or somebody who's an Ansh of Shri Krishna himself. Right? Do they really need a guru? They don't. Now, there are two types of those. The one who accept a guru in acting, they have to, just to establish an example before the world that yes, guru is needed, because our scriptures say that without guru, you really can't complete the path of your God realization. So people look up to saintly figures, and that is why they may choose upon to have a guru to establish that example. Even Lord Ram, Lord Krishna accepted a guru, even though they were not required to do that, just to set an example. Having said that, there are type 2 as well, who did not make a guru, but obviously they possess the absolute divine knowledge, and for whatever express purpose they come in, they start performing that as well. So they're not obligated. So they could be an original guru to begin with. So they may not have a guru. That is possible. And that happens as well. Okay, that's a very important concept to understand. Now let's look at the Sampradaya Pata, right? When you say there has to be a disciplic chain. So what are the Sampradayas? We'll pick upon some of the common Sampradayas here. Yes, Annapurna ji had a quick question.
Annapurna ji, please go ahead.
Display.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, can I have a screenshot of the earlier one?
All right, sure.
The one that you had. Yeah, type 1 and yeah, this one, other one, next one. Guru, yeah, 2 types of guru, yeah. Okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. You can go ahead.
Nitinji, there are a few questions. Do you want me to ask it real? You're on mute, actually.
Maybe wait for
yes, now you're on.
2 more slides, and then maybe some of those questions might have already gotten answered. So just hold off. We'll get into those questions, okay, after I cover this. So Sampradayas, we'll look at some of the Sampradayas. Brahma, like beginning from the creator Brahma itself, Madhvacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are, they are known as, these known acharyas in this Sampradaya. I think there's a typo here. Now, other one is Rudra, beginning from God Shiva, Vishnu Swami, Vallabhacharya, they were the important saints in this tradition. The third one is the Shri Sampradaya, which is Goddess Lakshmi, Ramanujacharya, Yamunacharya, they were the prominent saints to appear in this Sampradaya. And the other one was Kumar, which is beginning from Sanat Kumar. Nimbarkacharya, he was the important guru in this tradition. Now, amongst the non-Vaishnavites Sampradayas, the most well-known is the Sampradaya of Shankaracharya. Right? As you would know, the Advaita philosophy that was promulgated, it's a very popular Sampradaya. Now let's look at Sampradayas, tracing back the Sampradayas themselves. Where do they trace back to, right? We always talk about the chain in a Sampradaya. So let's start with the Brahma Sampradaya. So if you look at this Sampradaya, Madhvacharya, we are tracing it back. His guru was Vedavyas, his guru was Parashar, his guru was Shakti, his guru was Vashisht, and Vashisht guru was Brahma, and Brahma's guru is Narayan, right? If you know, Mahavishnu, when this creation comes about, Brahma comes from the navel of Narayan. So Narayan is the source of this Sampradaya, ultimate source. Now let's look at Shri Sampradaya. Ramanujacharya, his guru was Yamunacharya, his guru was Ram Mishra, then Pundarikaksha, then Nath Muni, and then Shatkop, Prashad, Vishwaksena, Lakshmi, and the Lakshmi's master is again Narayan. Now let's look at the Sampradaya, Shankaracharya, which is one of the most famous Sampradayas in the contemporary world. It all started with Shankaracharya, and his guru was Govindacharya, his guru was Gaudapadacharya, and his guru was Shukdev Paramhans. His guru was Vedavyas. Vedavyas' guru was Parashar. Again, the same chain is getting established. The first one like Shakti, Vashisht, and then Brahma, and then Brahma's guru is Narayan. So if you look at it, all the sampradayas, you can actually trace it back to God, Narayan himself. So essentially, Maharaj Ji used to say there are only two sampradayas, Sampradaya of God and Sampradaya of Maya. God, we have seen some of these sampradayas, you can actually trace it back to God. Maya is if some human starts their own sampradaya. Okay, so that is a problem. And that is another reason when Maharaj's ascension took place, he didn't follow any sampradaya, because if he had formed the guru, then people would have associated him to that, and then message gets limited, right? And then if you look at even within the sampradayas, people have ideological differences. Vaishnavites and Shivites used to, not look at each other eye to eye. And even today, I mean, I've had my share of those discussions. If you sit within somebody who follows monoism or Advait philosophy, they will not be willing to believe that God can have a form as well. So there are ideological differences, and that is what happens when you follow some lineage or a sampradaya pratha. Okay, so sampradaya, if you look at it, there are only two sampradayas, Maharaj Ji said, God sampradaya or Maya sampradaya. If you're following God's sampradaya, that's it. Everything is coming from God himself, right? Doesn't have to be a chain there. Now, even within Brahma Sampradaya, let's look at it. There are 8 segments that exist in main center of Udupi. Within that, there's another category which is called Gaudiya Sampradaya, which is prominent in West Bengal, which has 2 more branches to it, which is called Prachin Sampradaya and then Naveen. And within Naveen, there are 2, the Gaudiya Math and the ISKCON. So if you look at it, the chain can continue to any extent that you want to take. That is how the cyclical chains go. So basically what happens with those chains is you follow a particular thing and you think that is the only thing which has to be there, right? So it can cause a bit of an ideological difference and those kind of things with the sampradayas. But if you look really deeply into it, there is just one sampradaya, everything which is emanating from Narayan himself, right? We looked at it in the previous slide. No matter which sampradaya you follow, you can actually trace it back to Narayan, right? And if a Nitya Siddh or an Hari Avatari himself comes, there's no need for a sampradaya at that point. Okay, it's basically Narayan in action. All right, so with that, I can take questions and then we'll get into the concept of Guru Mantra. Okay, I'll post some questions and we'll get a bit of a discussion going around that, because again, there's a very important concept which needs to be understood in a very perspective. So the questions are, is it a shortcut to attain God while our mind remains, all the worldly desires still remain? What is that special power in that mantra which is given to somebody in the ear at the time of Diksha or initiation? Is it compulsory to receive a mantra for our devotion? And why are we told to keep it a secret? And what will happen if you tell it to your friends or somebody else? Okay, so these are some of the questions I posted and we'll go really deep into that discussion today. Yes, now we can take some of the questions that participants may have and then we'll proceed further.
Ramya ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
I had one doubt, but can you please go back to that slide where you had about Nitya Siddhas and
okay, sure. Give me a sec. I think I lost. Yeah, sure. Give me a sec.
No, not this.
No, I'm getting there. I just had to start from scratch because
Nitin ji, before you, so participant had asked for the
announcements.
Okay.
Yes.
No. Go ahead, Nitin ji. I'll do it. I'll ask you later.
Sure.
I can do it if you want to.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. So here, right, you said saints, they could be Ashtamahasakis or they could be Jeev Goswami and all. So I wanted to know is, are saints always Nitya Siddha, or can we have saints in Jiva Shakti? Like we know great saints like Kabirdas, Mirabai and all. In which category do they come? Are they Nitya Siddhas or are they Jiva Shakti?
As far as I understand that, they are Jiva Shakti which have become Sadhan Siddh. Okay, so by perfecting their devotion, they have attained that stature. Nitya Siddh, most of the saints are Nitya Siddh, but it is possible. If you look at it technically, even a Sadhan Siddh becomes a Swarupa Shakti Yukt. That means there's absolutely no difference between them and God, other than the fact that they don't control Swarupa Shakti. They are then they become Swarupa Shakti Yukt. So they are still controlled by Swarup Shakti, but they are under the sway of Yogamaya. But essentially, there is no difference between them and God. So they could also descend down as a saint. I won't be able to categorize or label. I've referred to the lecture and the literature around it to call out these saints. But if there are saints who have come who were Sadhan Siddh, that's a possibility too, because technically they are eligible for the sainthood. They have already attained sainthood and they are same as God, so they could come and actually help out the souls.
Okay. And when you said Swarup Shakti Yukta, they don't control it. Are you referring to the Yogamaya?
Yes, Yogamaya. Swarup Shakti, Yogamaya, Parashakti, they are all the same. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, so like a Jiva Shakti, he can come
Yes.
under the way of Yog Maya and not material Maya. At
Yes.
that point, he also can choose to become a saint.
Very true. Very true. They become Swarup Shakti Yukt when they become God realized. Very true.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Nitya. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. No worries. Okay, you wanted to say some questions, Pratamani ji? You are on mute, so we can't lip read you.
Sorry. So yeah, it's from Sagarji. He's asking, are the Nitya Siddha souls evolved or have always existed?
Always evolved. They were always God realized. They were always Swarupa Shakti Yukt. So they were never like us and then attained that sting, right? They are privileged. Let me put it that way, for whatever reason. So they were never like Jeev Shaktis, or they did not have to work their way through. That is called Nitya. Nitya means always. Siddha means there, realized, always realized.
Aarti ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe, Aarti ji.
Radhe Radhe, ma'am.
Radhe
Sir,
Radhe, Aarti ji.
I didn't understand the slide much, the one which is displayed.
Okay, maybe Aarti ji, you can put it in attendance tracker. I can give you a quick call and help you understand in a break it apart and make it easy for you. I know it's a little deep concept around this, and I think part of it we have discussed in our previous sessions as well. But we can have a quick discussion around what is it that didn't make sense to you, and I can certainly try to explain that to you separately.
So may I get that graph slide?
Graph.
Please.
Okay. I'm going to upload it so you can get it from the portal if you've already joined it.
Okay,
Otherwise,
sir.
okay. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions, or we
Yes,
get
we
into that
have,
discussion, because Guru Mantra thing is very, very important. I wanted to cover that today. It's often misunderstood, and that's one of the things I wanted to cover today.
I see Sudhakar ji's hand raised. Sudhakar ji, if you can be real quick.
Yes, Sudhakar ji.
Okay. How to recognize like a normal person, or who are in the process of trying to go to the spiritual path? How to recognize all these kind of people there?
You can only make an educated guess and hope God guides you to them. You cannot otherwise. There are some symptoms we discussed yesterday. Were you able to attend yesterday's session or not?
Sorry, I could not join yesterday's session.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll see if I can find the video and upload it, but then there are certain symptoms, but you can only make an educated guess around it. We don't have the ability to recognize it. We'll have to rely on God's grace for that. It is said when the student is ready, the master will appear, and God will give you the ability to get a sense of it as well. It's not an easy process for sure.
Okay. The second question is, I understood that we need knowledge, that kind of thing, or we have to pray God to recognize them. Suppose in the ignorance of the knowledge, we did not recognize them, and maybe in case we mistreat them or we misrespect them, is it considered as a sin? Because you don't know that he's a guru, a guru is to be respected as we learn from the scriptures. So
Scriptures tell us that it is called a spiritual transgression. Ignorance is not a bliss. Okay, unfortunately. I mean, I wish I had a better answer for you, but it is called ignorance is not a bliss. Now, whether a child puts the hand in fire knowingly or unknowingly, fire will do its job, right? Fire will not give it the benefit of doubt that this is just a child. It didn't know I am fire. Similarly, it's called a spiritual transgression. That is why it's imperative when we are born as a human, just to inculcate this habit of not, thinking evil about anybody, no matter who it is. And especially if you start doing it against a God realized sin, it's called a spiritual transgression. It becomes difficult to, uplift ourselves in spirituality if we do that. So it's better to be neutral as opposed to harboring ill things and bad thoughts and all those kind of things. Those are usually considered not very good, and it's called a spiritual transgression as per our scriptures, whether you do it knowingly or unknowingly. Okay.
Hemant ji has a question he wants to.
Sure.
Hemant ji, you can unmute yourself and please go ahead.
Hello, Radhe Radhe, sir.
Radhe Radhe.
Sir, can I speak in Hindi?
हाँ, आप निश्चिंत होके हिंदी में वार्तालाप कर सकते हैं।
सर वो इंग्लिश में थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम आती है।
कोई बात नहीं, बोलिए आप। कोशिश करूंगा मैं भी हिंदी में, शुद्ध हिंदी में आपसे बात करने की।
जी सर। सर ये जैसे जो गुरु मंत्र होता है सर, सर जैसे गुरु ग्रंथ साहब में भी बताया गया है कि मंत्र होता है, और उपनिषद में भी सर वो मंत्र दिया हुआ है सर, जो मतलब सर वो मंत्र है क्या एग्जैक्टली, मतलब?
तो गुरु मंत्र की बात करते हैं। लेट मी टच अपॉन दिस टॉपिक। आप इंग्लिश में, इज इट ओके फॉर यू टू इफ आई स्पीक इन इंग्लिश फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ अदर्स?
यस सर, बेसिक इंग्लिश आई नो।
ठीक है, तो मैं इंग्लिश में समझाऊंगा। गुरु मंत्र इज बेसिकली right now it is something which is given in the ear, right, by masters to their disciples at the time of diksha, or which is called initiation, right? उस टाइम पे गुरु मंत्र दिया जाता है। Now गुरु मंत्र concept है, what is there in the guru mantra? Guru mantra, they are usually Sanskrit के शब्द होते हैं वो, they are all Sanskrit words, which means like, oh Krishna, I surrender to you. Oh Shri Ram, I offer my obeisance to you. Oh Devi Ma, I do offer my pranams to you. Oh Shivji, I do namaste to you. They are recited in Sanskrit. Now, if same thing is said in some other language, will God not understand it? Right? That is one thing to be understood. God is the knower of all the hearts. So, ये जरूरी नहीं है. It is not necessary to get a diksha and then that will set you up, right? ये इसलिए होता है लोगों को, usually people they are under the impression that it is a shortcut. They can continue to dwell upon worldly desires, दुनिया की चीजें सोचते रहेंगे और गुरु मंत्र ले लेंगे and the progress will happen. That usually doesn't happen. That you take a guru mantra and just by taking a guru mantra, now you are all set on the path of spirituality. No, it doesn't work like that. In fact, this is an example Maharaj Ji gives, beautiful example, कि when we build a house, जब हम घर बनाते हैं, so we fit all the electrical fitting, right? We fit all the electrical fitting, the wiring, fans, light switches, meter boxes, and there is still no electricity in the house because we have not taken the connection from the house, right? And the day you take that, it comes instantly. So just as we prepare a house before we get the electricity, we have to prepare our vessel. And Guru Mantra is something Guru does not even have to recite in our ears. He can just look at us and impart that divine love to us. So this is the end product of our sadhana. When we are ready, Diksha is given by God and Guru in grace to us. But if on the other hand, you take a Diksha and then nothing has happened to you, spiritually nothing is happening to you, it is the same mantra, right? That you can simply say, Ram, Krishna, Narayan, Gopal, Damodar, God's word name, it will have the same impact as the Guru Mantra. But the point is, it's not important to get that thing in your ear and keep it a secret as if it's such a big deal, because it's God's name end of the day. And if others can benefit, you can just share it with everyone. And thinking that just because we had a Guru Mantra, now he's our Guru, and we are not even following their teachings, and now we are all set on the path of spirituality, doesn't work that way. First, we have to prepare our house, and then electricity connection will come any day. The day house, the fittings, everything is done, your vessel is prepared, it will come. Guru will simply look at you. He may slap you, tap you, hug you, They can give your Guru Mantra in any of the ways. It doesn't have to be in your ear to be kept as a secret. That is the key concept here. I hope I answered your question to some extent. So mantra, yantra, tantra, nothing is needed on this path. All that is needed is sincerity of heart and following the teaching of your Guru. If you accept somebody as a Guru from heart, that is more than enough. Okay, the key thing is to follow their instructions and start working on yourself. Not taking something in your ear and thinking I'm all set now. Okay, that is a common misconception that people fall for, and it is really not needed. Okay, did I answer your question, Sudhakar ji?
Yes, he says thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, it was Hemant ji. So yeah.
Hemant ji, sorry, my bad.
So I'll just do the announcements quick.
Sure.
The attendance tracker has been posted. The link for Jagadguru Divas celebrations has also been posted. So please take a moment to.
Yes, and please join us at 8 p.m. on tomorrow for the celebrations. And if you're inspired, if you want to offer bhog to Maharaji or do that, please do that. We'll put you on the camera and you can even talk for 30 to 40 seconds, how you've been inspired by his teachings. So we have that opportunity tomorrow. Do avail that. It is going to be wonderful, and we'll all be in the temple tomorrow for those celebrations.
Yes, so we will not be having tomorrow evening sessions.
Yes, tomorrow, yes, we'll not be having tomorrow sessions. Yeah.
Can I take the raised hands, or do you want to have any other?
Any other announcements, or we are good? And then Sanskriti event is coming. Do check that out as well. It's an online event. So if your kids, it's a brilliant platform for them to showcase their talent and participate. So there are a lot of events. Do check it out. Sanskriti event is coming. I think there's an early bird registration for that as well. So do check it out as well. Let's take the questions now, or anything that we want to take.
Yeah, I see you. So Nanikji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Nanikji.
This Guru Mantra, everybody gets it or what? Or anybody is entitled to get the Guru Mantra, or it is for certain people,
No, Guru Mantra, everybody is entitled. Actually, think about it. What is Guru Mantra? They are just God's names, right? So anybody can recite that. First of all, it's not a proprietorship of you alone. And secondly, see, this association with Guru is more of internal association. It's not like we go and somebody says something to us and that becomes our Guru. It is a two-way street, right? So first of all, the mantra, it's nothing but God's names. So if you simply recite God's name, it's as good as a mantra. Secondly, that association is internal. If you have accepted somebody as a Guru from heart, Guru will accept you, right? If you're approaching it sincerely. And then just like a proper Guru, one has to be a proper disciple as well. There are qualifications of a Guru, there are qualifications of a disciple as well. Just because we have taken a mantra does not make us eligible for being a disciple. So what is expected is then you start following the instructions of the Guru and keep progressing on this path. But mantra, everybody's entitled for it. It's just God's name. If you're reciting Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, all that is mantra only. There's no different from God's names.
Oh, I did a TM, Transcendental Meditation. Then anybody can go it, and then they give you mantra there. It's not God's name, something else. And also they tell don't discuss with anybody.
Different kind of meditations around it. We're talking on the path of devotion, how it is, but then there are mantras, there are mantra that you can siddh those mantras to get certain mystic powers. That is not there on the path of devotion. Here we are talking about what is it that would help us cultivate love for God and progress towards God with devotional sentiments, with seva bhav. But yeah, there are a lot of paths, a lot of things that are done. Those mantras, I don't know what they bring, mystic abilities, focus of mind, could be anything. So I can't really comment on that.
Okay, we have Pragya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Pragya ji.
Radhe Radhe Nitin, Radhe Radhe Amritwani ji and everyone. A very happy Jagadguru Uttam Divas to everyone.
Yeah.
And Nitin, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to recite Maharajji's titles. Whenever Swamiji used to do it, it sounds so grand.
Yep.
And today is such an apt occasion.
Sure, please go ahead.
In the middle of your time. Yeah,
Yeah,
Maharaj
sure.
was conferred with the title of Jagadguru Uttam on 14 Jan 1957. And apart from that, some of the other titles that was conferred on him was Srimad Padvakya Praman Paravaran, Ved Marg Pratisthapanacharya, Nikhil Darshan Samanvacharya, Sanatan Vedic Dharm Sansthapan, Sat Sampradaya Paramacharya, Bhakti Yog Rasa Avatar, 1008 Swami Jagat Guru Kripaluji Maharaj. Yeah, it's a very overwhelming moment. Whenever Swamiji does it, I don't know, I get some goosebumps.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pragyati, for
What a
bringing that out.
beautiful
So
session, thoroughly researched. I took so many screenshots, so much of knowledge.
I
Thank
think
you.
what you recited was the icing on the cake for sure. So thank you so much for completing that. So Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Pragyati, again. All right.
Gulabji, Radhe Radhe, if you can unmute yourself, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
To all. In my opinion, today is very happy good Jagat Guru Tam Divas. So thank you all with my humble koti koti pranam, Hari Guru and Maharajji, especially Maharajji. So I like to share 2-line song. मेरे गुरुवर प्यारे मेरे गिरिधर प्यारे मेरे गुरुवर प्यारे मेरे गिरिधर प्यारे जय गुरुवर प्यारे.
Thank you so much, Golabji. That was very nice. Loved the devotional sentiments behind it, and wishing you a very happy Jagat Guru Tam Divas as well. And thank you so much for the beautiful rendition of that bhajan. Okay, let's move on. We have some other participants as well.
Shruti ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Hi, Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe Shruti.
This question that this question that this Bij mantra, does it help in grounding us? Like, does it help to protect us if we need, like, I've heard that people, when they are like, they are meditating all over the world, like US and all, and they are experiencing some, bizarre things, and they are being hospitalized because they could see visions that they could not understand. So does this mantra or these things, do they help us in grounding? I don't know if you understood my question.
No, I get that part of it, maybe not completely, but then mantra, see, if you recite God name with faith, it'll give you its effect. That is how it's meant to be, right? If you remember God, try that practice for 10 days, remember God and start saying his name, and you will see the effect of it. Now, there are other mantras, of course, there are in Vedas, where it's called mantra siddhi you can do. Now, if it is not grounded in devotion and you're doing it for some other purpose, it will leave its effect even then. Mantras are powerful. If you do it proper recitation, then all that stuff, it will leave it imprint. Now, you said bizarre, and must be bizarre only, where they ended up in a hospital, because God, if you recite God's name, you'll not end up in a hospital. It will not be bizarre for sure. It will be something sweet, delightful, blissful. So yes, mantras can actually leave their impact, and there are a lot of such mantras out there. It doesn't take you too far spiritually, and it can disturb your mind. Like even in case of Kumbhakaran, what happened? He was doing the tapasya of Brahmaji to take Indra's throne, not Indra's yet. So then Indra got insecure, and he went to Brahmaji and Saraswati Devi that, okay, what do I do if he asks for my asan? Brahmaji is obliged to give that. So Saraswati sat on his tongue, and Kumbhakaran, and instead of saying Indrasan, he said Nidrasan. So if you don't do the mantra right, it will leave it effect even then. And he got that Nidrasan, okay, 6 months, done deal. So mantras are powerful if you do it with that. But then when you are on the path of devotion, bhakti, and you are trying to cultivate love for God, and you are reciting God's name with love and remembrance, your experience would be delightful, sweet, and uplifting. Cannot be bizarre where you end up, messing up your mind. But yeah, there are spiritual practice, there are mystic practice, there are tantric, all those things are there. It really depends on what we end up choosing. So, but yeah, they are powerful, they can have their effect.
Annapurna ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Annapurna ji.
Yeah, can I have the earlier one? Before you started question answer session, there was other one. Screenshot. I will take it. That one. Previous one.
This one.
I think so. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Right.
may be the one.
Okay.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
No worries. All right. Ramya ji had a question as well. I think we can take it, or who's Leveri?
Yeah. We have,
Aarti ji is there as well. Okay.
Yeah. Ramya ji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nitin ji. I had one question in that same slide, the red rectangle one.
Animation is good, but then yeah.
Yes, yeah. So here, the Jeev Shakti, I mean Jivatma, who has realized God, they become Swarup Shakti and they be saints as well. And now for us, if we want to find our gurus, should we really like look for the protocol that they should be God realized, that they should be Swarup Shakti, or if they are sadhan siddh, if they are still practicing and we feel that they're very good ideology, they could be a good guru, I can practice around them, or should they really come in Swarup Shakti or Nitya Siddha, the gurus, or can the gurus be in sadhan siddha category as well?
So sadhan siddh means he's already siddh. Whenever something is suffixed with siddh, that means they are a done deal. And the definition of guru is they need to be Brahmanisht, they need to be realized. So once they have become Swarupa Shakti Yukt, they are eligible to be a guru. But if it is somebody's work in progress, right, they might be 60%, 70%, we'll not never get to know. And they are not God realized, then they cannot be proper guru in the sense that they are not Brahmanisht as yet. Once somebody becomes Brahmanisht, they cannot come back under the spell of Maya, right? So, and Brahmanisht is like not like I'm 1% Brahmanisht, I'm 2% Brahmanisht. Brahmanisht means 100% God realized. And that percentage doesn't decrease from that point onward. Okay. But we'll never be able to make out whether this person is a Nitya Siddh, is a Sadhan Siddh, Siddh is Siddh, right? We don't have the ability to figure it out. For that matter, we'll not even be able to figure out if it's God realized or not. Those symptoms we have to rely on and the grace of God to identify it.
Then what's the difference between sadhan siddh and Swarup Shakti? Like both are
same. All I'm saying is it's an attribute of Swarupa Shakti Yukt is sadhan siddh only. That's not a separate category, right? The difference here is these are Swarupa Shakti Yukt, right? And the Nitya Siddh, they are under the sway of Yoga Maya, right? Although they are not the controllers. And the Ansh of Shri Krishna, that the type 2 that I'm talking about, they are the controllers of Yoga Maya Shakti as well. That's the only difference. Technical differences doesn't make much of a difference, from a God realization standpoint. All of them are God realized.
I understood. So like a guru, like because there was a separate rectangle, I thought it was a different category. But
No, it's not a category. It's not a category.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And a guru has to be like siddha.
Has to be siddh. Has to be a siddh. That's the prereq. It's a must-have. Otherwise, there's no point. It's like following a blind man if he's not a siddh person. Okay, and if you follow a blind man, you know what can happen. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, Nitin.
No worries. Radhe Radhe. All right. Sure. We can real quick. We can take.
Yes. Okay. Sudhakar ji, please go ahead.
So please fill out the feedback tracker, and tomorrow's session is not on. Like I said, please join us for Jagat Guru Uttam Divas celebrations tomorrow, and I'll be seeing you on Tuesday. We'll continue with our Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Sudhakar ji, any question real quick?
Yeah, actually, I have so many questions on this Guruji, but because I was trying to understand, I know the very importance of the Guru. I read from the scriptures and many people. But two things I would like to know. Maybe if you can clarify me.
I'll
What
try.
is what is meant by diksha, and what is the diksha? Is it? And the second question is, like, if I understood your session partially or something, is it that we can have in today's world, as of today we are living, particularly I'm living in a different part of the world where I don't have the all the facilities or the choices of what I want. Is it possible in today's circumstances to have the virtual guru?
So yeah, Guru, few things they definitely help if you have a proximity to the Guru, and you can have a one-on-one with them to get your doubts resolved. But in today's technology world, yes, virtual is also possible because it's a connect of the heart more than anything else, right? And if somebody is Swarup Shakti Yug, doesn't matter whether you're virtual. Physical boundaries are only for humans like us, not for the Gurus, right? Secondly, the concept of Diksha, it doesn't have to start with an initiation. That's how you start spiritually. Diksha can happen towards the end when you are ready. So it's like whether you want to take electricity connection first and then start building all the appliances at your house and doing the electrical fittings, or would you rather do all the electrical fittings and everything ready and then get the electricity connection, right? Getting the electricity connection is the diksha or the initiation. So it doesn't really matter. It actually would come to you anyways once you are ready. But if you simply take it, put it in our ear and think it's a secret and do nothing about it, doesn't really matter whether you're taken diksha or not. And association with Guru is a heart-to-heart connection more than a formal initiation in your ear. Not needed.
So if I understand, sorry, if I understand the concept, basically Diksha is like a certification, and before certification we have to be prepared.
Not certain. Yeah, the diksha is more like you're ready for that, and then it's kind of an association you have solidified, right? The diksha would anyway come to you when you're ready. Guru will give it to you just like that, because that's the final goal, right? But if you start with diksha and do nothing about it, then nothing would happen. So yeah, you can call it as a certification when you're ready. Okay. Anybody else? We can, I know we are a little over, so we can take maybe a new participant real quick.
Yeah, Archit ji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe, Archit ji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji, Amritavani ji, and Radhe Radhe everyone. Thank you for this wonderful Jagat Guru Uttam special series, Siddha session. I just like to make quickly a couple of points. One is like Nitin ji were telling. So Swayam Bhagavan comes once in one kalp. That is one day of Brahma. Second is like Sadhan Siddh, Maharaj ji gives very frequently these examples like Nanak, Tukaram, Tulsi, everyone was, हम लोग जैसे ही थे, even हम लोग से अधम थे, फिर वो लोग ठान लिए कि we have to be, and so these are some of the examples of Sadhan Siddh. And yeah, coming to the wonderful questions that you have put up in terms of Guru Diksha, I think Maharaj ji keep on repeating this multiple times so that we don't sway away from our path of bhakti and keep on telling ourselves like, okay, there is a shortcut of here something and it will do. Maharaj used to say कि अगर कान में कुछ मंत्र मिला तो क्या इलेक्ट्रिक शॉक मिला, कुछ फीलिंग हुआ, अगर नहीं हुआ तो फिर कुछ नहीं हुआ है. So there is nothing as Guru mantra which is like a shortcut to it. And just to define what is Diksha, in the words of what Maharaj says, it's Divya Prem Dan. When it happens, there's a first step of bhakti that is called sadhan bhakti. So we do sadhan bhakti, and then our antakaran becomes slowly shuddha. Then we go to bhav bhakti. When our antakaran becomes completely shuddha, that is bhav bhakti is complete, then Guru will give that Divya Prem in your heart. So that is Diksha, and for that we have to put our effort. There is no shortcut. Guru can just tell us.
Yes.
He can shower his grace, but if our vessel is not ready, we won't be able to take it. So I just wanted to quickly add these 2 cents. Thank you.
Wonderful point, Arijit ji. I think you just summed it up so nicely for me. Great points. Very true. That is what true Diksha is. Prem, Divya Prem Dan when you're ready. Thank you so much for that. All right. Real quick, maybe last hand.
Yeah. Is there anything in scriptures that indicate the next God's dissensions?
If I tell you, will you believe me? I don't know. There's one for Kalki for sure. Towards the end of the Kalyug, they say the Kalki avatar would come. That would be when the Kalyug will get extreme. By the way, there's another this dissension of like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It said there will be 3 dissensions. So there's another one. I don't know how many years down the line, and it's going to be in a female body. That's what I've heard. So don't quote me, but that's what I've heard. Okay. So saints will keep coming because see, God has designed it as not as an unfair game. It's a very fair game. There will be saints from time to time to guide the souls. It's not like God has said now go and do whatever you want to do. He will always send saints from time to time so that people who are inspired, who are seekers, they have a recourse in life. So it will never be like we will be bereft of saint and saintly people's guides and teachers on this path. It will never happen. Yes, Artiji,
Yeah,
real
we
quick.
have Artiji's hand. Before that, Nitinji, you mentioned that we shall meet on Tuesday. Was it for Indian participants
Tuesday, yes. Indian participants. For US participants, it's going to be on Monday evening. Okay.
Yeah,
just to clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Artiji, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe Artiji.
Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Sad Jagadgurum Divas Namaha. And Koti Koti Pranam to Hari Guru, Kripaluji Maharaj, Swamiji. And innumerable thanks to that will also be sufficient for what J.K. Yogi is doing in our life. And my heartfelt gratitude to all of you.
Thank you so much, Artiji, and I will look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's celebrations as well.
Yes. So just a few lines to express my bhav to Guruji.
Sure, real quick, please.
एक तुम ही आधार सतगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार, जब तक मिलो न तुम जीवन में, शांति कहाँ मिल सकती मन में, खोजा फिरा संसार सदगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार। कैसा भी हो तैरनहारा, मिले न जब तक शरण सहारा, हो न सका उस पार सदगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार। हम आए हैं द्वार तुम्हारे, अब उद्धार करो दुख हारे, सुन लो दास पुकार सदगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार, एक तुम ही आधार सदगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार सतगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार सतगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार सतगुरु, एक तुम ही आधार। मिलो न जब तक तुम जीवन में, शांति कहाँ मिल सकती मन में, सुन लो दास पुकार सतगुरु, कर दो हमारा उद्धार।
Very nice, Artiji. Thank you so much. Your bhavs were palpable, the way you recited. Thank you very much. That was a great way to end today's session, and happy Jagat Gurutam Divas to all of you. And I look forward to seeing you next week, and I really look forward to seeing you tomorrow during the Bhog and Aarti that we are going to do to celebrate that. Please do make it and do join us. And thank you again for the wonderful participation. Please do fill out the feedback tracker if you have not already done so. And Radhe Radhe, and thank you everybody. We'll do our closing prayers then. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukh Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everybody. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful day and a great rest of your evening. And see you then.
Thank you, Nitinji. Thank you, everyone. Artiji, it was really awesome. Thank you so much.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Shamji. I will be closing the bridge now. Thank you, everyone. See you all tomorrow in the celebrations.